Right, welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is my full spoiler review of episode 2 of The Mandalorian. It's in the title, so I don't want to hear any complaints over the fact that I've got this image here. It says spoiler review in the title. Now, I highly praised the first episode of The Mandalorian. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. And that's coming from someone that's not, I'm not heavily invested in Star Wars. I like the original movies and things like that, but I'm not a fanatical Star Wars fan, but this felt like a return to the original Star Wars. Now, this episode is equally as good in my books. There seems to be a few things first. Like, there seems to be a recurring theme tune for The Mandalorian, which I really like. It goes back to old style of doing movies. Again, like the original Star Wars movies, for instance, even Superman films, Batman films, things like this, having a recurring theme that not necessarily is iconic at the time, but it becomes iconic over a period of time because it resonates with the audience that they are watching a scene with this man in, with the the theme tune in and things like this. And it's really nice to hear. I really like that. Now, obviously, each and every single episodes are being directed by different people. Now, this one in particular, because the first one was directed by Dave Filoni, who is massive in Star Wars. He's literally the kind of all-seeing eye, I guess you could say. Now, this one was directed by Rick Famuyiwa. I butchered that name. I would say that the direction of this episode is not as good as Dave Filoni's, but it's nowhere near as bad as any of the new Star Wars movies that have come out. So if that's saying anything, there you go. It's still written by Jon Favreau as well. And let's just break down the story, because I want to get into a few bits and pieces of this episode. And I think people's key gripes with this episode will be the pacing and a lot of filler. And as much as I recognise that those are like problems with this episode, I don't recognise it as problems with series on a whole. Because, look, you're dealing with an 8-episode season. There has to be filler in these episodes. There just has to be. And especially in a series which is, kind of a spaghetti western to some degree. If you think back to any of those, old movies, old series, even old Batman series, for instance, there is absolutely filler. And this is no different. But I will say that the filler is well placed and is well constructed, because the filler makes you feel more for the Mandalorian in the long run. Now, this episode confirms a few things about little baby Yoda over there. We don't know whether he is a baby Yoda. It's pretty much confirmed, though, without so much as confirming it by words. So it's about this little baby Yoda. We open up with him walking through a canyon, trying to get back to his ship to obviously get off-world following the capture of the asset. Now, one of the key things which I really enjoyed about this particular scene is you see a bunch of shadows, obviously, from aliens trying to reclaim or destroy this bounty, jumping overhead. Now, at first thing, I thought, is that like airplanes flying over? Because obviously they shot this in like LA and places like that. So I was like, what is that? And then I see a reflection in his helmet of the canyon above and someone jumping across. And I was like, that is amazing. That is good attention to detail. And if you didn't notice it, go back and watch it. That's really good attention to detail. And the whole scene is very well lit. So when we're talking about it from a technical aspect, it looks great. It's framed very well. And I've still got my key issues with this series, which aren't really issues. Like the effects and things like that. I still forgive them because I'm engaged now in this story moving forwards. It's still a really good story. So we open up with this canyon. Some aliens come by, try to reclaim or destroy the asset, and he kills them, right? Now, from there, he's obviously injured because he sustained some damage from fighting with them. And this is where we start to really get a glimpse of this baby Yoda as being basically a baby Yoda. And I think a lot of people are right. Whereas in the first episode, there was the scientist that came out and he had insignia on his shoulder, which was Kimoan, the cloners. I think he's probably going to be a Yoda clone, or a clone of some sort, because he's force sensitive. He can use the force, this little Yoda creature. because he sees the Mandalorian is injured. He's trying to cauterize a wound on his arm. And the Baby Yoda keeps coming out of his little pod thing there to try and heal him. And it is cute. And it is, it's definitely there for the R's and the, all that kind of nonsense from the audience. But it works. It's endearing. It's not in your face either. One thing I would say is if you divert your memory back to The Last Jedi, I think they were called porgs or whatever they were called. They were absolutely just chucked in there for money's sake. It was like, yeah, let's add some piece of shit cute thing just to get your money, right? I think most people will admit that. This creature is not put in here predominantly to sell toys and make money and things like this. Obviously, that's part of the reasons. But is clearly integral to the story, right? Not like a porg that's just this throwaway piece of crap. This creature is very clearly important and integral to the story. So the R's and things like that is fine. It's acceptable because it gets the audience, attached to this entity, this creature, this asset. Now he obviously puts him back in and he locks him back up in the thing because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just proven to be a bit of a nuisance. So the Mandalorian does that. Next day we head off and he finds his ship again, and member berries, the Jawas are there and they've stripped his ship down. Now he kills a bunch of them, and obviously this is where I would say the first notable filler of the episode comes in, when he's chasing the Jawas down and he's trying to get into their massive same vehicle that they have from A New Hope. Now that is a very long drawn out sequence, and I did notice it, and there are some like slapstick moments there, but I forgive it because, again, as a whole, series have to have these filler parts to their episodes. They just do. It helps us across this, because you remember we've got to like this guy for 8 episodes and for the next season, because they've just announced, that's confirmed they're doing another season. So we've got to like this guy for quite a long time. So as a result of that, you've got to have filler episodes which give us a little bit more interaction with the guy whilst he's not just running around blowing people up and things like that. So I forgive it, but definitely notable filler. Obviously, he fails to get in, and as such, he then goes to find Nick Nolte's character, which, great, nice to see him make an appearance again. Why would you have him on board if you weren't going to use him for more than one episode? So, great to see him back. Now, he then says, yeah, no, we're going to go and help you. I'm going to take you to the Jawas and you're going to trade. And he's like, trade? What are you talking about? They literally stole my stuff. Funny. Now, the Jawas want his steel. No, it's his religion. They want his guns. No, it's his religion. All this kind of stuff. But they want an egg. Well, actually, they did try to take the Baby Yoda, and he was like, get away from him. Stuff like that, which was, again, quite funny. But then they want this egg, which gives us another creature, which, again, is not named or anything like that. We don't see too much of it. But this is the second notable drawn-out part of the episode. He's fighting this creature. But I will say the effects in the cave of this creature were very, very good. Now, the Jawas want this egg of this creature, so that's why he goes there. This creature obviously doesn't want to give up his egg, and a fight ensues. But this is where we really, really see that this creature is highly, highly force sensitive. Because when Mando here, the Mandalorian, is about to be absolutely curb stomped by this monster, puts his hand up. Little Baby Yoda puts his hand up. The creature stops. Can't move any further forward. Gets levitated. And then just when Baby Yoda has that for a little while, can't hold him any longer. Obviously, it's quite a strain on a baby, I would imagine. And he passes out, and the Mando takes the opportunity to turn around and stab the monster. Go get the egg. And he manages to get all of his stuff back. And that's basically the episode. He manages to get the ship back working again with Nick Nolte's character's help. And that's it. He flies off. The creature is asleep. The Baby Yoda is asleep for the whole time, obviously recovering from quite extensive force use. And that's it. That is literally the entire episode. So as you can see, there's definitely some filler there. It's about 31 minute long episode, which seems to be shorter than the last episode. I'm not overly sure why. And I will say this, part of the opening of that episode was a recap on the last one. So these seem to be getting significantly shorter and shorter. I think they are averaging about 29-ish minutes long to about 30-ish minutes long. But I really liked it. Recurring theme tunes, really, really good. A lot of people I have seen doing these reviews really hate the score of this. I completely disagree. I think to have John Williams come in and score a series is just a complete waste of his talents. And I also feel like if you are going to be differentiating this series from the main Star Wars saga, I think it's important to have different people coming in with their own flares, creating a score and a particular sound design and aesthetic for the series, because otherwise it's all just going to sound the same. And yes, it might be the same universe, but it's not the same story. So I think to have John Williams come in would be, one, a disservice to John Williams, but secondly, a complete waste of, gelling this thing together with the main thing, which is not important. I will say this, I think this character may play an important role moving forwards in The Rise of Skywalker, which is strategic from Disney's perspective, because if we think about this, The Mandalorian is releasing systematically every single Friday up until the release of The Rise of Skywalker. So I think it's building to that, which would make sense. This creature is clearly very, very powerful in the Force. Very, very clearly powerful. I think the Kimoans, whatever they're called, clearly want to clone and get like some kind of clone army going on with these things, or something along those lines, I would imagine, to rebuild the Empire of some sort. But there you go. My review of this is I'm on board. Like I like this. Unabashedly like it. And a lot of people have said, oh, you're not gonna, why are you liking this, blah 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 blah, you should still boycott Disney, blah 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 blah. It's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. You're going to cut yourself off from some good content. This is good content, and it's not being managed by Kathleen Kennedy or anyone at Lucasfilm outside of the TV sector. And that's important, because if this does well, it really, really does show that the weak link is the head of the film division. So it's important that you support this, actually, because if this goes well, it exposes Kathleen Kennedy as the massively weak link, and she'll get fired. That is the be-all and end-all. There's no other two ways around it. So if you've watched it, please do let me know your thoughts. See if you agreed with my thoughts. See if we differed anywhere along the line. Let me know what you think about the score. I will say that, because I know a lot of people don't like it, but did my perspective on the score help change your perspective at all? Or, tell me your perspective. I'd love to know. So anyway, guys, if you are new here, make sure you do hit subscribe. Stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. Also, if you want to support the channel further, please do. You can check out my Patreon, which is linked down below, as well as my merchandise underneath every single video. Support the channel, support me and my efforts to entertain and bring you up-to-date news in the world of pop culture and movie news and reviews such as this. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've been Mr. H. Take care.